Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another fun Saturday of the Nerd Council of Doom. We are a trio of movers and shakers, dare I say, influencers right here on YouTube. And we're going to talk about, I wish I could do that with my eyebrows. Yang had that Spock eyebrow going perfectly. See, I can't.
I have to say I have never influenced anybody. I can't even get my kids to clean up the living room. So
yeah, maybe I've influenced someone to get off the internet and do things in real life. But
okay. Well, anyway, thank you all for hanging out with us today. However you guys are out there. So what this is we do this on kind of a rotating. We're a floating craps game, as it were. Sometimes we're over at Yang's. We'll be on Yang's channel in April, and then in May we'll be in the Dungeon Ministers, and then in June we'll be right back here. But we will share the links with you regardless of where we go and what we do. We share those links with you. And speaking of links, linked in the conversation down below is the Dungeon Ministers channel and Yang's channel. Please click subscribe. Please go subscribe, like their channels, click the bell icon for notifications. Do so here if you feel so compelled. But anyway, gentlemen, what's going on? How have your nerdly pursuits been over the last 30 days?
Pretty nerdy.
Yeah.
Pretty
slow.
nerdy.
Slow. So I unless you guys have something to report, I can jump right in, or
you go right in. I know we have some sad news in the gaming world. To acknowledge and bewail, as it were.
I think that is probably a fine place to start. This week we lost one of the pioneers of tabletop role-playing games. We lost the great Jim Ward. I was lucky enough to get to know Jim for a while. I interviewed him 4 times on my live stream, starting all the way back in 2020. Over on Facebook, and I posted those up onto YouTube. There's a playlist right here on this channel. You can go and watch those. It's damn near 6 hours of Jim Ward and I talking about everything, the history of the game, things that he was working on in the interim, great stories out of his time at TSR. If you ever want a window, because I think we've all kind of gotten through osmosis, Gary met Dave, Gary came up with Dungeons and Dragons, the game exploded in popularity, Gary lost control of TSR, we all know that narrative, but what came next? And Jim was great for telling us what life was like in a post Gygax TSR. He was just a creative and fun guy, nice guy, wonderful guy. The last thing I said to him face to face was this time last year at GaryCon. I got his autograph on my copy of Deity's Demigods, which is something I had really, really wanted. And I said, Jim, I've got to have you on the show again. And he said, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Just let me know. And I was on, as GaryCon was approaching, I thought, Jim's going to be really busy for this. I bet he's getting adventures and stuff like that ready. And plus he's kind of under the weather. So I'm going to tag him this spring. And I did not get that opportunity. So, Jim, of course, wrote the first science fiction role-playing game ever, Metamorphosis Alpha, and then followed it up with the awesome Gamma World. We play Gamma World live stream here, Yangs. But to my audience, let me just say, or our audience, anyone out there watching, listening, whether it's now or later or whatever, avail yourself of Metamorphosis Alpha and Gamma World if you like fun tabletop role-playing games that are easy to pick up and you want to do something other than Dungeons and Dragons. I do recommend. Jim is survived by 3 sons, I believe, and his wife, and our condolences here. All of us, I think all of gamerdom, go out to them in what must be an absolutely terrible time for them.
Wow. And a shock, you know.
Yeah,
it was not foreseen. It wasn't like a long time coming kind of thing. It wasn't. Yeah.
He now one thing, and I always gave him space to do this. He always insisted. He said, I'm going to take a few minutes of our interview to talk about health issues. And let me say something. I'm a fat guy. Okay. I'm not chubby. I don't carry it well. I'm a fat guy. And I'm a gamer guy. So I sit for like 90% of the day and I snack probably more often than I should. No, there's no probably about it. I do. Jim had a polemic that he would get on and he would address us as a community and he would say, stop doing that. You might think that even in your 30s or 40s or 50s, I'm fine. I can have, 4 slices of pizza and a liter of Mountain Dew still. Ha ha ha. I'm fine. When I met Jim for the first time at Lake Geneva Gaming Convention in 2006, so I didn't know Jim. Someone said, that's Jim Ward. And I said, that's Jim Ward? That guy's like 30. That guy's like 4 or 5 years older than me at the most. But no, Jim was in his 50s and he looked amazing. And he just hit the wall one day and his health went terrible. He was racked with diabetes, neurological problems associated with diabetes. He lost, he went from a guy who had a long stride across a convention hall to a dude on a mobility scooter. And so if we can take something positive out of Jim's passing, it's keep yourself healthy, so that I always gave him room to do that. And you guys should go, if you have a Facebook account, I believe all of his posts are public. Go to his account and read with an ear for listening about what he had to say about taking care of yourself. You got to take care of yourselves. And I think I think that was a much more important story than Lorraine Williams was a jerk. So Vaughn was asking if Jim had a heart attack. As I understand it, Vaughn, Jim passed away from neurological complications, which I'm no physician, but I do know that is one of the complications of advanced diabetes is neurological issues. So
he was preparing to run something at GaryCon. That is, from what I heard.
Yes. He was. Jim was famous or infamous for his games. I seem to recall a story someone told me at a GaryCon. Actually, somebody came over and told Jim, hey, we're meeting for dinner, or these people are waiting on you, or something like that. And his game had been going long, as convention games sometimes do.
Always
and
do.
So without missing a beat, Jim looked at the table and said, everyone roll a D6. If you roll a 1, you survive. Anything else, you die.
There you go.
And nobody rolled a 1. So everybody died. And he said, all right, I hope you all had fun. It just went on with this thing.
Brilliant.
So that was that was Jim, man. He was. I should model my games, and I think everyone should model their games more after Jim was. Jim was not afraid to irradiate, mutilate, mutate, do whatever to your characters if he thought it was funny.
It was starting to sound like an NXS song.
Yeah,
Radiate,
right.
mutilate, decapitate.
The science, yes. But so we will miss you, Jim, and I hope to get to game with you at the big gaming table up in the sky, bud. But anyway, and happier stuff, guys, I got to do something I'd never done before. I back in was it not this past week, but the week before, I actually saw Labyrinth for the first time.
Oh,
nice.
For the first time.
I had never said, my wife loves it. We have it on DVD, and it wasn't like I hated it, and so I never wanted to watch it. I had just never seen it. I had literally never seen Labyrinth, and so AMC did a limited movie run thing. I think we talked about them kicking this off back in January on the February show. But she got tickets to see Labyrinth, and she was like, "Oh, I hope you'll enjoy it in the theater as much as watching it." And I'm like, "Honey, I've never watched it on TV." And so in watching it, I gotta bring the D&D angle in here. I mean, it's so easy to say, "Oh, well, Labyrinth, sure, it's a dungeon, and there's monsters, and there's traps, and of course D&D." Yeah. There is specifically exactly a D&D reference in Labyrinth. I don't mean like you see a D&D book in the background or some dice on a table, or, there's a monster called Gygax. There is something that is taken out of a D&D module specifically. And it is in Lost Caverns of Sojkanth. Right at the beginning of the dungeon, there's these stone faces that will moan warnings at you no matter which tunnel you go down. Turn back, that is not the right way, and so on. You guys, if you've seen Labyrinth, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In Labyrinth, the stone faces, that was originally in Lost Caverns of Sojkanth. I absolutely believe that Terry Jones must have seen that module. That is like stone faces that talk on the wall. Okay, all right, well, that's kind of neat. But them doing exactly that, I'm feeling like dude must have had a stack of D&D books at the very least, and flipped through them and said, "Oh, that's a jolly nice idea. I'll put that in the movie."
Yeah, D&D and acid seems like they would not have been in short supply in Henson's Creature Workshop.
But yeah, the 80s were a really good time for kind of experimental fantasy movies like that. I think half of them were shots at live action stuff like that. We had Willow, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, Legend,
Return to Oz.
We had more visceral stuff. We had a couple of Conan movies, Red Sonja,
Crawl,
and just an absolute, like, a video wall worth of horrible stuff by Charles S. Band. The Wizard and the Princess, The Sword of the Sorcerer, Beastmaster 2, Krull. We had Krull. So many good bad movies. 6502 channel, California loves this channel. Well, thank you very much, 6502. One of my favorite processors of all time, the 6502. But anyway, yeah, so I saw it in the theater, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like I wish they'd ramped up David Bowie's creepiness a little bit more. And you might say, well, Bill, it was a kid's movie. The first monster we meet is Hoggle, and he's pissing into a moat. Like there's like, oh no, and then the camera pans around, but he's pouring a glass. No, literally, Jennifer Connelly walks up, his back is to the camera, and he's kind of doing that shake, and you hear him pissing into the water. So yeah,
when you gotta go.
When you gotta go, you gotta go. And that, by the way, answers where do the monsters go in dungeons? Anywhere they want.
Well, into someone else's drinking water, usually.
Yeah. Mark mentions Hawk the Slayer, which is, of course, awful. Not Mark mentioning it, but the movie. I am the one D&D fan who stands on that. Have either one of you guys seen Hawk the Slayer?
No.
I have not.
You're not missing anything. The 6 foot tall dwarf. That's all I have to say about Hawk the Slayer. 6 foot tall dwarf.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, it's not good. Lady Hawk. Now that is a movie with
Lady Hawk.
That is fantastic. Fun. Lady Hawk is loads of fun. So much gameable stuff in Lady Hawk. Matthew Broderick's character was a D&D thief. He absolutely was.
Yeah.
Move silently, pickpockets, pick locks,
pick noses,
as Yang was just before we started. Yeah. Lady Hawk is great. Vaughn with a quote: the mouse has left the house.
All these movies make me wonder one thing. A lot of these were considered kids movies back in the 80s, and they were super dark, peeing on things, kids being kidnapped, your family getting murdered. All this stuff was very common for children's fare in the 80s. And if we go back and we look at books before that, you could see like Little House on the Prairie and like whole family dies of scarlet fever and, all these kind of things. What happened?
Kids are a lot more resilient than we think they are.
Yeah. Why do kids, I don't know if it was in the 2000s or the 2010s or what period, but it seems like, Captain Underpants is for 18-year-olds these days. Like they never kind of get that. I don't know. Everything just seems
an infantilized culture. An infantilized culture.
Absolutely.
Say the three guys who are online to talk about games.
Well, to be fair, we're here to talk about lots of things, but no, I think the culture is infantilized, Dungeon Minister, and I feel like, we see stuff like, and this, I'm gonna, run the Aztec gauntlet and risk getting hit with a club here, but disclaimers in Dungeons and Dragons books. Oh, there were terrible prejudices back then, and we have to do better. So please understand, we don't support these things at all. Come on. Yeah. And you see, like we all grew up with the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show on CBS in the mornings, right? 90 minutes of Bugs Bunny Roadrunner cartoons, which, back when I was a kid felt like this huge expanse of cartoons, and it's like 10. It's with all the commercials they cram in, it's like 9 or 10 of the Warner Brothers cartoons, but they won't show any of that on TV now. I mean, guys getting blown up, dropped off cliffs, cut with axes, poisoned, electrocuted, disintegrated, burned alive, all that stuff. They don't dare show it on TV these days. No. Which, thank goodness, because I can't tell you how many of my friends died because I threw anvils off the roof onto them.
Well, see, that's what it is. Kids see this stuff, and then they they do it. They say, "Well, I'll try throwing axes at people and see what." Yeah. No, what I was. This came from a completely different world, but I was at a clergy conference, and the subject of hymns came up, and children's prayers. I mean, you look at that kind of classic children's bedtime prayer, which has been softened for today. You know, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And now it's been softened, and I don't know what they've changed the ending. But the point that was being made, that when these hymns, when these prayers, when they were written, and the movies too, there was an acknowledgement that the world was scary. And like when those prayers were written, when those hymns were written, children did die quite often, right? And so it was something that kids would be worried about. And so the prayers and the hymns were written to address a very real human situation and to turn it into prayer. And the movies as well. Actually, on the way back from the violin the day, we were talking in the car about 80s TV shows and how many of them featured the mother dead. And Cracked did a thing on this years ago about how it was during a time, the late 70s through the 80s, in a spike in divorces. And so the home goes away, right? The home is broken up. And the mother being the sort of paradigmatic image of the home around which all else revolves, that this was a way of the nation dealing with the trauma of all of these divorces, was to mythologize it into the mother being dead, which I thought was rather, a rather insightful notion. But that, so that's how our culture deals with stuff. So look, in the 80s, you're dealing with, you're constantly being told that nuclear war is happening, and you're constantly being told. That was the beginning of the environmental movement. Was really 70s into 80s was really gaining steam, and the horrible things, and the hole in the ozone and everything, Mad Max and whatnot. So we're dealing with a sort of, what will this look like, and how will we endure, and what will our story be? And so these darker themes, and life was just less coddled. Another thing is people talk about, a lot of people aren't having children until their late 30s, early 40s now, which, and this gets really kind of dark, but it's harder to replace the kid then. Like, you're not having another couple kids. And so we're now bubble wrapping our children because something instinctive in us says we can't get another one. I mean, obviously every human is unique and you can't get another of any child, but
that's not what my man used to tell me.
But when you're having kids in your early 20s, you're not thinking this through, but it's an instinctive sort of, I can have more, so now everything's so, I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's a minister, and he had his first daughter. I think his wife was like 36 or something. And he was asking me like, oh, I don't know. Do you think I should try for another? I said, it's always good to have a spare in case the first one turns out bad.
There you go. Keep a couple of spares handy. Hey, we've got a question from the from the gallery. Actually, we got a couple of questions. One is kind of a fun one. I want to. Where is it? Jeremy Rule says, "What is this crew? I feel like a D&D X-Men Avengers crew is being yes, we are, Jeremy. That is exactly what we are." But Michael Dale. Michael's always good for an insightful question. It's been brought to my attention that the Discord has been getting a little politicized lately. Yeah. I don't want to talk about stuff that's pertinent to my show, but I will address the second half of your question. What's the best way to keep gaming while not sweeping important discussions under the rug? That's the back half of that. So I'm going to say this, Michael. Gatekeep. Everybody talks about, don't be a gatekeeper. I say, absolutely be a gatekeeper. And here is the way the gate should work. It should be that little door. I'm sure Dungeon Minister and probably Yang know what I'm talking about. That little door that's hard to get into. And that is, you tell people, we are here to game. That is it. We are here to play D&D hero system, Metamorphosis Alpha, Star Frontiers, Aliens the RPG, Kids on Bikes, Space 1889. I don't care. You're here to game, not to bring it. Let me tell you something. Right now, there's 100 horrible things going on in the world. All right, that I could just pick up from the major news wires. That is an interesting question, and I, you know what, I'm gonna get to that, Jeremy. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. But I game to get away from those things. I started this channel as a positive way to get away from what was going on in March of 2020, when human malware was written to our boot sector. That's why I do what I do. I have a group of well, now it's going to be 14 when Jeremy rejoins the fold on Monday night that I play AD&D with, and we are across the spectrum politically.
Yeah.
But everybody knows to keep their yaps shut, because I don't want arguments that bleed into and out of game. Why won't you give me a cure light wounds? Oh, I'm out. But the real reason you won't do it is because you don't like that person voted for Biden, or you don't like that person voted for Trump. You gatekeep and you demand that the politics stay out. And the assholes who tell you, pardon me, Father, who tell you, well, RPGs are art and all art is political, you gatekeep them out the hardest.
Well, yeah, it is. It is an obnoxious thing when you have that player at the table who keeps, like, I found people who are like-minded about subject A. And so it can be real easy to assume, well, we all agree on A, we must all agree on B as well. You know, we all agree that Dungeons and Dragons is awesome. You must all agree with me that so-and-so with this politician's a jerk, or this politician's fabulous, you know, and it's an easy slide to make. It's an easy slide to make, but if you do it, you're going to discover that the gaming world crosses all those boundaries, you know?
Yeah. As I every now and again have to recruit new players for my test groups, for my campaign guide, one of the first things I tell them is, no, you can't be an orange gnome named Drumpf, and no, you cannot play an undead named Bidan. You're welcome to engage in any in-world politics that you like, but not real world.
Yeah. And I mean, it used to be that we didn't have to do this. I don't know, and we're not a political talk show, guys. At least I don't want us to be one. We used to be able to engage with you that, well, I voted for Reagan. Oh yeah, I voted for Mondale. Okay, cool. So anyway, you guys are walking down the corridor, and here comes some gnomes, you know. Yep. And now it's like, you know, who'd you vote for? Well, I voted for Trump. You know, I'm canceling you. Oh, your game is toxic, and you're a, you know, or likewise, you know, to not throwing that on anyone else. Who'd you vote for? Biden. Oh, so you're a commie?
No.
I don't want commies at my table. You know, we've lost the ability to be civil to each other. I don't know if we'll get it back, but to answer the question again, you gatekeep and you don't let those people come to your table. And if they insist on it, if they come in like a Trojan horse and insist on it, you politely tell them to shut up or leave, that they are disrupting the table.
No. And like Vaughn, new D&D spell, dispel hate.
Yeah. So we need to answer this question because this was supered in by Jeremy, and we thank you for the super. Does Yang collect Starbucks mugs from around the world? And if so, how many does he have?
Well, it's funny. I used to have more, but my wife insists on getting rid of them.
What?
I know, right? So I
Yeah.
only have 2 at the moment. I've got one from Budapest, and the other one, I can't remember if it's Rio de Janeiro specifically or if it's the generic Brazil one.
Wow.
Right. I have to go to Japan in a couple months, so maybe I'll pick up another one there.
A lifetime of collecting mugs, and they're gone in the rummage sale. Oh man.
My
That's
wife
harsh.
is very strict about the number of cups that we can have in our house.
My wife is like that too. She's a great one for clearing things out.
Yeah.
You know, and then 3 months later having to buy what she you know.
Yes.
Oh, we don't need this anymore.
Thank you.
This shirt that fits the eldest and will definitely fit the middle and the youngest at some point, and that they're gonna need. We're just gonna have to spend the money. But
Yeah,
she's a little, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Meanwhile, I've got like a 3-foot section of a 2x4 that I've had in the barn since 1996, just in case.
Yeah, dude, you might need that board. Don't get rid of that board.
Well, I mean, I got egg cartons because they're good for paint trays for painting minis. One egg carton will last about 7 or 8 projects, and I do about 1 project a month. So
well, there you go. I need to start sending you boxes of unpainted minis anonymously then, Dungeon Minister. You know.
Yeah, but you know what?
I need to start eating fewer eggs.
Look, 4 years ago, the great toilet paper shortage of 2020 hit. So you need to save those egg cartons because you never know when the great egg shortage is going to hit us.
The great egg shortage.
I've actually the leader of my youngest Girl Scout troop. She and her husband moved out in the country, and they've got goats and chickens and stuff like that. She actually does do egg sales, so nice. Sometimes I'll rock out there with a couple of cartons and be like, "Hook me up." Billy Bennett actually has a question for me. Can I tell you about the location of Old Castle Greyhawk in relation to Greyhawk City? Yes, Castle Greyhawk is canonically, I believe it is located to the northwest of Greyhawk City. I think because that's where I put mine, just because I wanted my campaign to be my own. So I could be wrong about that. So if somebody wants to correct me on that, that's where it's at. Excuse me. Little goopy today. It is very polleny. It is extremely spring where I'm at. So even I, who do not normally get affected by such things, have the yellow dust everywhere.
Yeah, listen to that humble brag. Spring. Snowed here again last night.
There's so much pollen from all of the lush flora around me.
Oh.
Yeah, that was, that is one tiny little thing. It breaks my heart that I couldn't be at Gary Con this weekend. Yeah. People were like, "Bill, you got to come. You got to find a way to get up here." And this was like back months ago. And I'm like, "Cool, I'll start walking now. I should get there by the time the con starts." Because, that's how it go for me. But last year, so it was Florida winter cold when we got up there. No, that doesn't mean it was 71. It was like, because it'll get in the 40s. It'll get in the upper 40s here in Florida. And so the first couple of days we were there, it was like that. Now, it was consistently like that because like that upper 40s is the low, generally speaking, here. But it wasn't like awful. It wasn't like, my God, we need environmental suits. We need like space suits to move around. So that was on Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, I can't remember if it was Thursday night or Friday night. I feel like it was Thursday night. They're like, "Yeah, it's going to snow." And it had peaked out at 50 Thursday afternoon.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to snow. So yeah, we woke up Friday morning and there was like 8 inches of snow on the ground.
You know what? You got to do that though. You're visiting Wisconsin in March. You have to get snow.
Yeah.
You'd be demanding your money back if you hadn't gotten snow. Like, look, I came to Wisconsin. I want snow and cheese and beer.
Yeah, and that's it.
I got all of those things. I got all
Gardetto's Snackins. Gardetto's Snackins too.
The Trinity of Wisconsin.
And yeah, it's well, I think it was Thursday. They had 6 inches of snow on the ground, and we're expecting 8 more.
Yeah.
So to my friends up in Wisconsin who went to GaryCon and aren't used to it.
Man, you say 8 inches of snow. If we had 8 inches of snow here when I was in high school, you wouldn't even be excused to be 8 minutes late.
No.
You had to have like 2 feet overnight, and then you could be like 10 minutes late.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like we've back in the 80s, we had the Great Freeze that killed off the oranges. Most of the orange growth here in Central Florida was destroyed in the space of just a couple of years. We had a day, like during the day, it was like 31 degrees. It like by evening it had peaked out to the 40s. But yeah, there were like dustings of snow everywhere, and there was like, yeah, no, we're closing schools. We're not making kids come here. Of course, Jeremy lives in the glacial rift of the frost giant Jarl, and they average 44 feet of accumulation per year. I've seen pictures of Jeremy's house, so yeah, it gets there. But anyway, back to nerdy stuff. Nerd. Yang, what nerdy stuff have you got for us?
Well, I want to talk about something that I think is one of the most pressing issues of our day. I know we said no politics, but this is just too important. Okay. And that is, I think we're seeing a vast conspiracy against the people of the world, and history is repeating itself because Netflix and Amazon Prime have started putting commercials in their stupid movies and TV shows.
What's the point of subscribing? What's the point of paying?
Thank you. And this is a repeat of what happened with cable. Whereas, in the 70s or maybe even very early 80s, you paid extra money to get cable channels and there were no commercials. And it was great. That's what I loved about Netflix. That made it worth it to pay for. And Amazon Prime, I get it because I need it for the shipping, but I take it anyways. But why? Why would they start putting commercials in there? That's what I would like to know.
Because fewer people are subscribing because their shows have gone.
Yes.
It's short answer.
Yeah.
And I'd like to point out the difference in the price too, because so I get Netflix free because I have T-Mobile cell phone service, right? Mm-hmm. So they start having these commercials on, and at first they slow rolled it. Like maybe you'd get like 1 15-second commercial before the show started, and now they're breaking into it like every 10 to 15 minutes. But I said, okay, well, how much would it cost me? I thought, $2 a month, fine, I'll pay for that. No, it's $8.50. $8.50 a month just to not see ads. And to make it worse, there was some movie I was trying to watch on Netflix the other day, and they said, oh, it's not available for you in the plebiscite tier.
Yeah. That's a premium movie. That is.
Exactly.
It was made in the last decade. You got to pay extra for that, bucko.
You are not HBO, Netflix.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm paying extra. And if I wasn't getting the base service free with my phone service, I definitely would not. I would have canceled for sure. So,
Jorge. Ads? You think you know about ads? You merely adopted the ads. I was born in them. Beautiful. I didn't see the cartoons.
I thought I was already a man.
I think you win the live chat, Jorge.
Yeah,
I just win the live chat for the day.
Plus one.
No, and to me also the ads are bad, but because you're looking at content that was not designed to have ads, there's no music sting tense moment ad. So you're just going through the flow of the thing, and they throw the ad in wherever, and it entirely breaks the flow, the rhythm of the thing. I mean, TV shows made for broadcast TV were made to have ads, so there were these. But when it happens on a service we all know that I don't want to mention, lest any of us lose the financial impetus for conducting ourselves in this manner. But it starts with a Y and it ends with an oob. When I'm watching that and there's ads and they just get thrown in wherever, and the person's making a point, and the most important thing about this is, depends.
Well,
for security throughout your day.
I try to curate because look, guys, to my audience, I know Dungeon Minister Yang, you're technically part of my audience as I am yours, but to the audience out there in watching us right now, and there's 35 of you. Thank you everybody for hanging out today. I know you guys, if you don't have YouTube Premium or whatever, I'm sorry for the ads, and I completely understand if you want to run an ad blocker. I'm not going to pull my hair out and demand that you watch them. But I try to curate, because YouTube gives you a little bit of control, and like if your video is longer than 8 minutes, when you're uploading it, they're like, you want to put an ad in the middle of this?
Yeah,
I can do that. Like,
now I've lost that. All I can say is yes or no to ads. They will decide where they put them. It used to be because when I would upload, I would say only the static ads off to the side on top of the recommended videos. Not in. And then they said, well, no, now and I would say nothing before, nothing after, nothing in the middle. But now I don't have that choice. And maybe you're in a higher tier or something. But I get do you want ads or not? So I've said no to any of my pre-recorded stuff. No ads, because I was getting like 50 cents off them anyway, so it's not
well,
I keep it on for the live for the supers.
Down here in the unmonetized channels, we don't even get that option.
Get good, scrub. No. Anyway, I'm kidding you, Yang. You know what you guys can do actually to help Yang get good? Subscribe. If you're not subscribed to Yang Yan Zhao's channel, let me tell you what, this cat has some of the coolest comic book prose on his channel. He's got show reviews and everything else. So please subscribe to him. Subscribe to Dungeon Minister if you want actual good Dungeons and Dragons content. So please again do good.
Now I got to start making good content. Shoot.
I've put you on the spot, Dungeon Minister, but the links are down in the description. He is at Yang Yan Zhao 4 on YouTube, and Dungeon Minister is at Dungeon Minister on YouTube. So please subscribe.
I want to know what happened to Yang Yan Zhao 1 through 3. Where are the bodies buried?
No, you don't. Moving on, guys.
No. That will get you your channel struck by the government of China.
Yeah.
Vaughn asked about whether he's specifically asking you, Bill, but I can answer. No, you don't get to choose what the ad is.
No.
Even when I had more, and this actually I was realizing it may be a Canada-US thing, but even when we had more say over when the ads would play, there was no say over what company would buy ads time.
Yeah, no, there's not. So I mean, I have never watched my channel with ads. I should do that one day. I should set up a VM and log into a device that I don't like. It doesn't know that it's me or anyone associated with me, and see just what kind of ads it puts on. I am so all over the place. I would imagine that the poor algorithm probably has a hard time figuring out where to place me. Games. Let's put up ads for No, he's talking about finances. So
Oh, it doesn't even connect. Well, so last time I tuned into one of your live streams, first I was shown an ad of a woman, with those home stripper poles for exercise.
Go
it was
on.
an ad for that.
Yeah.
That was what it was an ad for. And so I'm here to watch the Dungeon Delver, and suddenly I'm trying to turn the phone so my wife doesn't see the I didn't want this.
No, honey, this is just for work. Don't worry.
Yeah, Mrs. Dungeon. So you're watching something called a dungeon something, and there's a stripper pole.
Dungeon Delver. It's Bill Sylvie. Look at him. Look at him go on that pole.
Thanks, local Gumby.
I wasn't going to mention anything, but yeah, it's there was a gentleman. God, it cracked me up. I couldn't have been more than 8-9 years old, but I kind of glanced at him a few times. He went to our church. I glanced at him a few times, and he like just completely clean shaven, and he smiled at me. The guy's probably in his 40s or 50s. He smiled and said, he said, when I'm at home, I grease it up with a little Crisco. When the flies try and land on me, they just slide right off the back. And I just started laughing. It was fun. Daniel Rowan came in time just in time to hear me say stripper pole.
Nice.
But anyway,
there you go.
So getting back to the topic just for 1 second, do you guys think we're heading for a new great digital arms race? I think all of us remember the Napster decade.
We're in it.
Do you think people will be sailing the high seas more? And do you think people are going to start hacking their TVs more so we can start putting ad blocking apps on TVs?
Yeah.
I think the person who comes up with this is how I picture it, Yang. I see it as somebody will come up with firmware for the Raspberry Pi. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically, it's the same kind of processor that goes in a mobile phone, but it's on a little breadboard that you can stick components to. They're very highly regarded, very programmable. You can do just about anything with a Raspberry Pi mini computer, but I can see somebody initially releasing as like a little project where you can buy one of those and then flash it with a custom firmware, and then you plug your cable in, whatever comes from your cable company into the back, and then a network cable out into your modem, your cable modem, the router that they give you, and it intuitively knows what is an ad and what is not, and it starts blocking those. And then, of course, you'll see cable companies responding by saying, if we ping your device and we see this on, we're going to deactivate your service. And then, of course, they'll get the government behind them, and the government will help them enforce that, because I don't care if it's an R, a D, an I, A for anarchy. I don't care who it is. The government will always get in bed with corporations against its citizenry, whether you're in Canada, England, the United States, whatever. And then people will come up with more surreptitious ways to do that, and so on. I mean, as much as we like HDMI, the cable, it's a little flat, almost like a fat USB looking cable that we get all that crystal clear audio and video out of. Yeah. The HDMI standard, you can't put a Y splitter on your HDMI and record stuff. HDMI is smart, and it will basically not allow itself to be intercepted like that. You go from your box to your television, and it's just how it works. It's just how it works.
I don't know. Maybe people will start making boxes. You plug the HDMI into the box and then another cable into the TV, and could be. People used to have those cable stealing boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend when he was at, he wasn't one of the big schools up north, but it was common knowledge that if you took like a very strong battery, like out of a speaker or a cathode ray display and put it in a certain spot on your dorm room wall, it would gank the scramble signal. You could watch cable for free.
Nice.
But that was also probably 35 years ago. So I'm not.
The attempts to block that activity were a lot less sophisticated than they are now, and the totally different hardware too.
I want to answer the Wheeling Dragons question here now. It's ready for your insanity. Yes, because Wheeling Dragon is going to be running stuff at the GUAC, the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, and she's going to be running Labyrinth, and I am looking forward to that. And for those of you who are curious about the GUAC, I'm going to be assigning those of you who've signed up to run games. I'm going to be putting your games in slots today. That is my homework tonight. But I do want to mention something because somebody was talking about Paint Minis Live. First of all, Paint Minis Live, again, another YouTube channel everyone should subscribe to, but there was a little back and forth. And this ties into what we're talking about with digital content. PML, I don't compete with PML. I don't. If somebody goes and watches his live stream and then comes back later and watches my live stream on replay, awesome. If they watch my live stream and then go back and watch his live stream but on replay, awesome. We are not competitors with each other. I don't feel like I compete with Dungeon Minister, and I don't feel like I compete with Yang. We're all part of a, I would dare say, collaborative group of people. We interact with each other. There's no competition here. I don't begrudge the fact that, Dungeon Minister has, a live, like I won't hop on live if I see Dungeon Minister on live because no, I have to get those viewers on me because people watch my content or they won't. And it's the same with Yang. So if I'm streaming and Bill T starts streaming, and you want to go watch Paint Minis Live because I'm not talking about something, go ahead.
Unregistered Hypercam 2 is suggesting a collaboration with Paint Minis Live where you do compete to speed paint 50 goblins.
Ooh.
I'm tuning in for that. And I'm tuning in with 2 computers, so I'm on both of your channels.
There you go.
I want to see.
I have done that before. I have had 2 streaming shows on at the same time. It's a little chaotic, but, I do it. So...
Maybe this is something for Claricon 3 where we could have competitive shows, like make a dungeon map in 1 hour, or most creative dungeon map in 1 hour, have a bunch of competitives, second round of competition, paint 50 goblins.
Actually, PML is planning to be, I hope I'm not, you've said it online, is planning to be at Claricon. And,
envy.
So people are going to be able to see the man work live painting minis. But I have thought about and maybe PML is the one to do it, a mini painting contest. And probably bring your mini pre-painted, and then PML can judge. He can be the impartial judge and hand out prizes. But that's actually not a bad idea for a competitive dungeon over the dinner break. Sit there at the McDonald's scribbling away and try to come back with a dungeon.
I tell you what, I will offer something right now. Since Dungeon Minister, first of all, Dungeon Minister is doing our merch for GUAC. So you guys can go and you can get yourself some GUAC. He's done it for the previous 2, and it's fantastic. And my pint glass isn't on the table. That would be helpful. And there, Yang, coffee mugs. Get a GUAC coffee mug. Show your wife who's boss. Okay, I can't have Starbucks mugs. GUAC 1, GUAC 2, GUAC 3.
Check in the live stream, the StreamYard there. I shared my screen for the. You could put that up.
Oh yeah. There we go.
There's the GUAC throw pillow because everyone needs a GUAC throw pillow.
Everyone needs a GUAC throw pillow. That This year's art is done by Sky Hernstrom, who is a fantastic fantasy author. I recommend his stuff. But
I need to correct that. I'll go back and fix that so it doesn't say convention.
Yeah,
I was doing it rather in a hurry.
That's okay. But I will say this right now publicly. Dungeon Minister, if you want to do a paint and take with Paint Minis Live, I will print up some minis. And people can do a paint and take.
Cool.
So yeah, just let me know. So there you go, guys. Get yourself
there's the mug. There's the mug, so you can
I'm gonna go for pint glass. I still got to get my merch for GUAC 2, but I think I'm gonna build up a collection of pint glasses.
Ooh, I like Daniel Rowan's idea down there in the chat. Who wants I Survived the Satanic Panic tees?
Oh, there you go.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. Oh, Jorge's got a suggestion for you. Get her a GUAC coffee mug.
There you go.
If only she drank coffee.
Okay, Rank. She throws out your coffee mug. She doesn't drink coffee. We need to talk about this marriage.
But she's baking. I can smell her baking bread right now. So.
Oh, keep her.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you saw marriage counseling by Dungeon Minister in 1 second. Micro marriage counseling. That's what you get out of this live stream, guys. You get all kinds of fun stuff.
I think this may be my favorite. It's a welcome mat.
Oh, I dig that. I like that a lot. You're welcome. You're welcome. Enter.
You're welcome to enter, though you may not leave.
Is the 2 cut off, or you're welcome? Because it just says you're welcome. Enter, though you may not leave.
Oh, you're right. It has. That's another thing I have to go back and back. Like I said, I was doing them quickly. I'll add a 2 there. That's the beautiful thing about it, is that it hasn't been printed yet, so I can just throw the TO in there and redo it.
Yes, indeed. Do I remember which Dragon magazines talked about? I don't remember which specific Dragon magazines, Vaughn. All the issues are available online through Anarchive and the Internet Archive. So if you Google and do a deep enough search, you will find which issues of the Dragon will do that, or we'll have that info. So here's a question I'm going to put out to you guys. And that actually ties into this. Is there space these days, you think, for print RPG hobby magazines? Or does it just move too fast? Any edition doesn't have to be old school.
I would say yes, if you're providing something that's necessary. Like, for example, if you are giving like actual size maps, that would make sense to me for an actual print edition of something. Fold out battle maps at regular size. I can see people paying for a monthly subscription.
Yeah, I think there is somewhere out there is a hunger for things that are authentic and real. And I mean, I know I've had a viewer, a patron on my channel, sent me a whole bunch of old dungeon magazines.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's just, to hold it, and then I got even more of them then from my brother-in-law, who gave me a bunch as well. And to be able to thumb through them and to, it I don't know if it's nostalgia, so maybe the kids today don't care, but to me, I don't know, my kids love them, right? And half of them are losing their covers now because they went through them. And at first I was like, these are precious, and I thought, no, you know what? That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to be read. So yeah, I think there's a possibility. I think it could still work, but the cost, that's the only thing.
Yeah. Cost of printing has more than doubled in the last 2 years, and the cost of shipping is insane. Especially, I know a lot of people shipping, comics and whatnot, even up to Canada, which is just right next door.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I've got stuff that I have been meaning to send my co-host Kyle for a long time, and I feel bad that I sat on it for so long because I was like, oh man, it's very expensive to ship. He's in Australia. It's when I do send this stuff to him, it's probably going to cost me north of $100 to send him to ship this stuff to him.
Yeah.
And that's like slow boat to Australia, literally. But to the matter of zines, yeah, that is a distribution problem, because like if you're going kitchen sink, and you're being super nice about it, and you're saying, oh yeah, hey man, thanks. I think it's just cool that somebody subscribed, shipping is bad, but it's free. Well, one person in England can wreck you.
Yeah.
Because it's like pennies, or maybe just $1 an issue to send 8, 10, 12 issues out across the United States. That ain't no big deal. And then somebody in Canada or England or wherever else in the world wants one. And then you're staring down the barrel of, double digits just for a single copy of something that you may have produced for free or nothing.
Yeah.
But as far as the viability from interest, I think there is. And I talked to Matt Finch about this when Matt was on the live stream a couple of weeks back. Because I would have loved it to see Knockspell come back in print. It was Mythmere Games early magazine. I wrote an article for it, but Knockspell was wonderful, and people really liked it. But Matt sang the song of this cost too much. But something else that came along was GUAC magazine. Did you guys ever read any GUAC mag?
No, didn't even know it existed.
So Luke Gygax got together a bunch of TSR creators, and they produced, let me see if I can find an image. I have physical copies. I just don't know where they are. And everybody knows the Buster Keaton-like comedies that occur when I try and grab things off my shelf.
It's more Fibber McGee than Buster Keaton.
Granted. But okay, so Dungeon Minister, keep that issue to hand, please. Okay.
This one?
Yes.
I forgot that one.
Because I want to show. Folks, if you don't know about GUAC magazine, that one is perfect. Let's open that image in new tab, and we'll zoom it in. So check this out. This was a magazine. And when you guys see what this issue is going for, you'll inhale with terror. This was a magazine that came out. This was done. Now, if you guys remember what Dungeon Minister's Dragon magazine looked like, you can see the similarity. And it was a fine thing. The problem is, Gail Gygax was laboring under the misapprehension that if it had the name Gygax in it, it belonged to her. And this was an attempt to steal the IP of Gary's that she owned. So she sued Luke and made them stop. So this stopped after 8 issues. I've got 6 of them. Or did it stop after 6? And I've got 4. But this particular one in so-so condition on eBay, $94. So, but that's not the issue. The thing was, when Gygax magazine was in print, it was hugely popular, because they got Tim Kask and Jim Ward and Alan Hammock and that cover art. Can't remember who the cover artist is on that one. But they were like old Dragon magazines, and people really went gaga for this magazine. I feel like there was definitely, absolutely a market for print RPG zines.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I think there still is, but I feel like you've got to, I I don't think in this market you could do more than quarterly, and you would have to target old school, because let's face it, the 5e gamer is somebody, they're going to want to go to D&D Beyond, grab an adventure to run that night. They don't care about print. They don't care about tactility. They don't love the same things we love about the hobby. And I'll leave that up to others as to whether or not that's good or bad. But I think you could do something zine-like. I think there's room for it. And I think Gygax magazine probably came as close as we could get to a runaway hit. It's just, again, Gale is, the less.
I think a hybrid strategy might work pretty well, and something I'm considering, which is where, for a time period, let's say 6 months, you have like a subscription fee where you're releasing it digitally for 6 months. And then after that amount of time, you collect it into a print version and then sell that separately, or you ship that out.
And take the digital down.
Yeah.
And take the digital down. Yeah. Yeah. I just like the fact that they actually, it was kind of a great moment for me when they contacted me to model for the cover of one of the Dragon magazines. That was
your college days, I see.
I will leave it to the viewers to determine which one of those characters Dungeon Minister was modeling as, but
it was the 80s. Everyone was crazy,
Yeah, it was a different time, you see. But so what else is on the menu, boys?
GUAC is on the menu. Lots of tasty GUAC.
GUAC is on the menu. GUAC is coming in April. That's happening. So we'll I think a post GUAC Nerd Council of Doom is probably in order, like the weekend following. We'll push it back a little bit, because that is, I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna be busy. Sure. So Dungeon Minister, are you running stuff at GUAC?
I am running a game at GUAC. I'm running one game, and then I'm waiting to see, because you said you were going to sign up for one of those Labyrinths, and I'm going to sign up for whichever one you sign up for.
Yes, I'm gonna get it on one of.
Actually, I think there's only one I can get to is the Friday morning. So I'll have to close my office door at the church. I'll just close my office door and pretend I'm not there. Park down the block. No one comes to see me.
Don't start yelling about goblins and magic spells too loud. But yeah, I am gonna run. As I said, I'm the other night, I'm going to be running Space Hulk demo. I'm going to be running, now by demo, I don't mean I'm going to be sitting and you people are going to passively watch. Space Hulk is probably only going to have possibly 3 spots open, 2 Terminator squads, if I do a 2 Terminator squad mission, and then the Gene Stealer player, and then I'll arbitrate it. Dungeon, which will have 3 slots, myself and 3 players. Hero Quest will probably have more. Hero Quest might have as many as 6, but those are the board games I'm going to demo, and then I'm doing my how to play first edition advanced Dungeons and Dragons demonstration, which is already up on the grid and has 2 signups. So if you guys have never played it, Retro DM Ray, hello. Say hello to Yang Yan Zhao, please. Retro, please say hello to him. We're stopping until Retro says hello to Yang. He's here too, and he's a person, so please say hello to him.
I probably just blinded him with my head in the light.
No, that's fine. I can wait as long as you guys can. This is not dead air for me.
Hey, there we go. Hey,
we appreciate that. Okay, Retro. Thank you, Retro DM Ray. Yeah. So I'll be doing those demos. I might, cram another snack into my tray, I might do a short AD&D adventure with the characters and stuff we create in the How to Play. Cool. So we're thinking of doing that. So again, and hey, if you're a veteran of AD&D, because my How to Play is not exactly filling up. I've got a couple. So if you want to play, if you want to come in and say, I want to see how Bill does it. I know AD&D, but I want to see how Bill does it. Then please feel free to come in and to sign up for the How to Play AD&D at the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. But anyway, so I wanted to mention this. Of course, we're big Star Wars fans around here. And by Star Wars, I'm talking about the 3 movies made by George Lucas.
Well, there were only the 3 movies.
Yeah, you might need to specify.
The 3. He only made 3, Yang.
He only made 3 Star Wars movies.
He made 3 Star Wars movies.
Before the Mimic started...
before the doppelganger dragged Star Wars into the Mimic room. However... Once again, the power of the community is not being ignored. The Acolyte, which is that thing has gotten there's like, at last count, like 550,000 dislikes to 147,000 likes on YouTube.
Hypercam, that was a TV special, not a movie. It does count. It's canon.
Unfortunately, it is, but
horrible canon, but it's canon. Actually, you know what? I this past week, I went to pay a visit to a couple of cartoonists who worked on the Droids and Ewok cartoons back in the 80s. They live in the village where our church is, and
cool.
Yeah, and they are fabulous people. They are like the sweetest people you'd ever want to meet, and yeah, so that's extra canonical, but I'll grandfather it in because I know some of the animators.
Well, dude, that's why have you not had them on? Do like a live interview? That sounds like ultra cool geek space stuff, dude. And if you don't, I'll find them and I will.
I don't even know how we would hook up the Wi-Fi or the live streaming from their house, but anyway.
But
that was just me, showing
off. Geeking out over that. That's awesome. That is fantastic. So let me. This is from PML. Yang, what do you do in the hobby space? Always interested in new friends. Yang, what do you do in the hobby space?
Well, I make videos about gaming, comic books, and TVs and movies. I try to focus a bit on story and storytelling, even though I know that it's sort of a dirty term in a lot of people's tabletop role-playing worlds. But it's all about making things more fun and getting people together. I also have interviews with people in the gaming space and comics, usually once or twice a week. So come on by.
Definitely check out Yang's channel, everyone.
But there's one thing about the Acolyte, if we're talking about this just for a second, is missed opportunities. Because how cool would it be to have a Star Wars kung fu like show, right? Like in the trailer, that's kind of what they're sort of getting at. And in some ways, it makes it look like a wuxia movie. A wuxia movie would be like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is one of those. Like, how cool would that be to see in a Jedi setting? Except they just totally screwed everything up.
Yeah, and I mean, we got a taste of that, a little taste of that. Now, I said there's only 3 good Star Wars movies. I actually liked Rogue One. Yeah. I mean, of the entire batch of prequels, sequels, TV shows, Rogue One was really good. And we had why have I gone blank? Yang, the actor who great kung fu action movie star, was in Rogue One.
Donnie Yen was in there.
Donnie Yen. The amazing Donnie Yen was in that. And Lucas loved samurai movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I mean, a lot of the stuff about the Force is just ripping off Taoism. So, you know, he must have seen a bunch of Kung Fu movies back in the 70s, and that was sort of their heyday anyways. So, you know, why don't we have this? Now, the only problem is if Disney did it, it would end up like the Netflix Iron Fist series, where instead of, you know, like epic Kung Fu battles, you would have people inviting their enemies over to spaghetti dinners.
Yeah.
I happened in Iron Fist.
I would not trust Disney to do a proper House of Flying Lightsabers, if you will, for Star Wars. But I think the Acolyte getting ratio to Helena, and I got to say, there are way better cinematic brains than I have who've looked at this thing. You got guys like Critical Drinker who've just, you know, 7 minutes of pure surgical disassembly of that trailer. But yeah, when are they going to learn? When are they you know, $200 million TV show bombs. It's because everybody is prejudiced. Let's do another one. $200 million TV show bombs. You're all prejudiced. Here's the next one. You know,
I think even if they really committed to assuming that so many people were prejudiced, that's why it wasn't succeeding, then stop making them, because everyone's prejudiced and they're not going to like your show. Like, even if you buy into that thought pattern, why are you still doing it?
Well, the fucking Star Wars starts off with like a strong female protagonist.
Yeah.
She insults Vader, setting aside that's his daughter. Vader could have literally like twisted her head off. She smarts off to Tarkin and Vader, arguably the two most dangerous human beings in the entire galaxy of untold trillions of people, and she looks him straight in the eye and says, "F both you guys." Han and Luke show up. What does she say when she thinks Luke's a stormtrooper? Aren't you a little short? You know, here's a guy that if he was a stormtrooper could have been like, "Yeah, I'm closing this door. Hey, how far up to the power range do you think I can put it in? It still be stun." And just, you know, just go to town on her. You know, she insults Han. She like yells at. She is a girl boss hero, but not in the modern sense. And then we get Kathleen Kennedy and that rogues gallery in there. The Force is female. Well, thank goodness you guys have finally shown us what a strong female protagonist in Star Wars should be.
Yeah, to me, the most interesting thing about this is what it really tells us about the people who are making this stuff. Because the Acolyte, from all reports, and I guess what we see about the trailer, is that the Jedis are really wrong and evil and oppressive, and the Sith are good. And their excuse is like, well, this is a story from the Sith point of view. Okay, you can do that. But in order to do this successfully, at some point, they need to realize that they're in the wrong. And we know that's not going to happen. It's all going to be that the Jedi are wrong for their goodness and their virtue and their value. And of course, the Jedi are going to be arrogant and whatnot. So what does this say about the people who are writing this? And this isn't just in Star Wars. We see this in all the Marvel TV shows pretty much. It's the same thing. Oh, well, the good guys are actually the bad guys. The people who are trying to save everyone, you know, they're the bad guys in reality.
You know what? Critical Drinker had a lot to say about this in a video a few years ago about what is being done to our heroes. And he sums it up, and I'm not going to do it justice. You guys should seek the guy's stuff out on YouTube and watch it. But he says flat out that the modern way is to look at heroes not as something that we want to aspire to. You know, it's not aspirational. It's stuff that's to be mocked and torn down. We don't want to lift ourselves up to the standard of a hero. We want to drag them down into mundane normalcy. And this goes back into D&D, you know, to be a paladin in advanced Dungeons and Dragons, you know, you have to give up the idea of, well, I want to be an elf and live 2,000 years and have infravision and be immune to sleep and charm and be able to find secret doors and always be good with a bow and have a bonus to intelligence. You have to set that aside. You have to be a human of extraordinary good fortune. And then you have to walk a straight and narrow path that you can never stray from. The rewards are many, but the difficulty is high, and nobody wants to do that anymore. In Dungeons and Dragons, you can be like, you can have a friggin' kobold, chaotic, evil paladin with no stat better than a 9. Not that a 5e fan would tolerate a stat of less than 20. But you know, that's literally the degree of moral relativism we've reached. And, you know, they've done it again with Star Wars. I'm
wondering if you've read the short story, Kurt Vonnegut short story, Harrison Bergeron.
Yes, absolutely.
That is a you know, it's a commentary on communism, on a sort of, you know, in order to make everyone equal, we can't lift up people who are incapable of rising, so we'll drag down the people who are extraordinary down to a level. And that's what's happening with heroes. I just listening to that and thinking, yeah, they're slapping the weights on the dancer so that she can't move gracefully.
Yeah.
And so we're going to make the kobold a hero. But in order to do that, we have to drag down actual heroism.
Yeah. No, that's just it. And that's what we've seen, you know, with Star Wars. Instead of, you know, these three people, Han, Luke, and Leia, are great. You know, we start off, Luke is an abject failure. He is a bitter, nasty failure of a person. You know, Han and Leia, they had the storybook romance. Oh, Han left her. But is he out there being, you know, a latter-day playboy? No, he lost his ship. He just, you know, he lost the Millennium Falcon, the iconic ship. Yeah, he just lost that.
So Leia, Luke, Han, Chewie, or a Millennium Falcon, perhaps, the four olds, which must be destroyed.
Yeah,
so that's right. They can create the new.
If you saw the Solo movie, you could see that the sex bot is the AI that runs the Millennium Falcon.
I never saw the Solo movie, but now you said those words to me. I wish I missed 5 minutes ago when I didn't know that. Yeah. What a terrible day to have yours.
They heavily implied that not Han Solo, Lando Calrissian was sleeping with his droid, and then the droid was basically destroyed. So he took the droid's memory and put it into the Millennium Falcon. And this happens before Episode 4. So a perverted sex bot has been flying the Millennium Falcon throughout our favorite Star Wars movies.
That's the effect, the attempt and Yang faints. The attempt to go back and...
Are you happy, Kathleen Kennedy? You killed our co-host.
It's that effect to go back and say that the thing you loved, we're gonna undercut it. We're gonna put poison in it, right? And of course, it doesn't actually affect the original movies. The original movies still exist, and we could just wave that away and say that's a lot of bunkum. But they're because they own the IP, so they're going to plant something so that it's not enough to create the thing now, and we could just say, "Well, we don't like that," right? But we'll create this thing, and it'll include seeds that reach back into the old movies and subvert them, so that as you're watching it, that's not really what's happening. you're not really seeing that happen. It's just sick.
It's like watching Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi, but worse.
Yeah. I mean, I there's so much about the prequels to dislike. Testing positive for Jedi, deleting Sebastian Shaw and sticking Hayden Christensen in there. There's so much about it to not like, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's astounding that the one positive thing Kathleen Kennedy may have accomplished was making the prequels palatable.
That's true.
It's kind of like when H1N1 was raging back about 10, 15 years ago, I caught it, and the aches and pains I got through it were just awful, just absolutely unbelievably awful. And I was quarantined. The daughters camped out with mom in the master bedroom, and I slept in their bedroom on the bottom bunk. And I sat up bolt upright in the middle of the night because I was coughing, and I smashed my head in the bottom of the top bunk. Now I was like racked with pain and fever and everything else. And when I slammed my head into the bottom of the bed, it hurt so bad. It hurt so unbelievably bad that just for a brief period, I forgot about how bad I felt. That is what Kathleen Kennedy's movies have done to the prequels. The prequels are a bad case of the flu. Her movies are the head injury, but at least we forget about the bad case of the flu for a while.
Now, I just to sort of counter my own points a little bit, if you do like that classic Star Wars feel and you're a Rogue One fan, go watch Andor Season 1. Fantastic overall.
If coming from you, Yang, I'll consider it. I'll consider it. Because go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's done by the same director that did Rogue One. And it's like kind of a slow burn, and everything makes logical sense. Like little things happen in the beginning that you just sort of like, whatever. And then it turns up like snowballing and becoming a major thing by the end.
I have heard good things about it, and I think I may have heard them from Critical Drinker, who does not hand out praise lightly.
No, he doesn't.
He rarely praises anything. So if he liked it, it's probably is quality stuff.
Yeah, if you made a movie that Critical Drinker will come out and sing the high praises of, you have accomplished something. I keep nattering him on social media to do a review of Denis Villeneuve's Sicario, which we're not going to discuss here. It's a bleak, unhappy film, but I would love to see his take on it. But Jay Tyler asked thoughts on The Mandalorian. The first couple of seasons I enjoyed. I did, but I could see where they were sliding rather rapidly, and don't even get me started on the whole Gina Carano thing. But I genuinely enjoyed The Mandalorian, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. That was a proper way to bring back Luke Skywalker. Mandalorian. That was, I mean, okay, look, spoiler alert. If you guys haven't seen The Mandalorian, they de-age Mark Hamill, and of course they did, but he shows up on a spaceship. There's all these killer stormtrooper robots, because that's a thing in the expanded universe. That is a thing. I'm not making fun. And Luke literally just walks down, just force crushing them, just like gesturing, cutting some in half with his eye. It is so badass, so much better than I'm gonna nurse this walrus tit and drink this blue milk and flip you off and throw my lightsaber away. But
I never saw The Mandalorian. We have Netflix. Is it on Netflix? I don't know what even it was
Disney
on.
Plus.
Well, we don't have that. And then I saw all the Baby Yoda marketing, and I just said, I don't want any part of this. So I stayed away.
Well, Baby Yoda was supposed to be a tiny arc, and then it hit so popular with certain generations and demos that they were like, oh, this thing's just a cash machine. So we got saddled with it. But Opinion-wise, Vaughn says, shouldn't David Prowse have gotten his face reveal over Sebastian Shaw? No, I don't. I don't. First of all, David Prowse was in a lot of hot water with George Lucas. He was not going to get a face reveal ever. He apparently said some unkind things about Star Wars, but he was contracted that, like, you know, it was like ironclad. They, short of him passing away, they couldn't get rid of him as the body of Darth Vader. So yeah, unfortunately, David Prowse was never going to get a nod from. He can't go to official Lucasfilm events now. Like, wow. He is persona non grata for how he mouthed off about Lucas. So,
well, also I think he's dead. I think he died last year, didn't he?
Prowse passed away. Well, up until that point, he couldn't.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, he did die. I remember he was on the Death Star, the second Death Star, and he died there, and we watched his body burn. So,
yeah, so
gone.
Proof positive.
There you go. But yeah, no, he was.
Oh, he died in 2020.
Yeah, so he was for decades, because he apparently said something to the effect of, well, I think Darth Vader should be Luke's father. It would make sense, or something like that. And Lucas was like, you're done. I've told this story.
Trying to spin it like it was his idea. Nice.
Well, there's also David was complaining that he never got royalties from doing any of the movies, that the LucasArts just kept, they have their creative accounting, basically finding ways to screw him out of royalties.
I can believe it. I can absolutely. But it's not appropriate for here, and it would take too long to go into. But I have some horror stories about people that work for Lucas and money. But although there is kind of a cool story. I can't remember her name. Yang, you might know who I'm talking about. She was the editor at Marvel. She was the editor on the Star Wars comic book for almost its entire run, if not its entire run. But
let's see, Joe Duffy, maybe.
I think it was Joe Duffy. But she talked about working with Lucasfilm, and generally they got stuff rubber stamped when they did the comics between Star Wars and Empire and Jedi, and after Jedi, which was a short run after Jedi, because they were seeing sales go down, and Lucas was apparently making noise about money. But they always had to pass their ideas through Lucas. They had to send things, and basically they would get stuff back stamped approved. And if there was something that they were like, we like this idea, but could you do this instead? Because that maybe doesn't take that care. There'd be attached notes or something like that. Between Empire and Jedi, they came up with this idea. They're like, what if the Empire built a second Death Star? And so they sent that to Lucas, and that whole paragraph was circled in red and had an X through it. No written on it. And when they got invited to the premiere of Return of the Jedi, like a sneak preview, they were like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, like 5 seconds in, we see the second Death Star, and they're like, okay. So it's kind of a cute story. Cal says the last landscaping job he worked at 24 years ago was George Lucas' residence. We were told never to bother. Well, I get that.
Yeah.
Hey, see you, Ray.
Take care, Ray. Thank you for hanging out and showing your good manners.
Thanks for coming, Ray.
Indeed.
I say Retro DM Ray was one of the early in my channel. One of the people who was a big booster and a great sort of cheerleader, and gave me a lot of encouragement to keep on going. So
he is a good guy, and he's been around the Delver's Dungeon for a long time too. So big ups to you, Retro DM Ray.
Genuine guy.
So anything else, gentlemen? Have we run the table, as it were? I'll check our Discord conversations and make sure there's nothing else. Let's see.
Oh, Wheeling Dragons often asks if Mrs. Dungeon Delver is feeling better.
She's all right. I actually witnessed her. It was like the Patterson footage of her strolling through the kitchen a little bit ago. So I think she's starting to feel a little better.
Don't tell her that.
But okay, I think we've kind of covered this before, but
Last Airbender? No.
Last Airbender. Anything new to talk about in AI or AI art or AI creation? I think we've kind of rehashed that as much as we can.
Yes,
go ahead.
Except there's one delicious piece of news, is that there was, I can't remember the name of the company, but there was a company recently that was using AI for like fantasy images and art entertainment. And then they were complaining that somebody else stole the prompts that they use to generate that AI image, to which I say, delicious.
Excellent. But the one thing I do caution people about this, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Thank you for hanging out, Wheeling Dragon. Love you to pieces. You will not lose your job to an AI. You will lose your job to someone who can use AI better than you. Whether it's coding, art, design, whatever. ChatGPT is just sitting there waiting for you to type something at it. It's not in the net. It's not friggin' Ultron. It's not Skynet. All right. People talk about this existential threat to humanity. AI.
It's not yet.
It's not yet. Quiet, Dungeon Minister. I'm trying to earn some brownie points. Also, I would like to point out I can be helpful in pointing out traitors to the AI cause with my vast media knowledge. But no, I don't think it's AI and a lot of people think ChatGPT and Midjourney are all the AI is, and it's not. No. The AI that is being used in various industries now can't hold a conversation with you. It can't create stuff for you. It is focused, intensive, expert systems that can cull through and logically choose things from decision trees. But it's not the AI that you sit down and like try to fool into saying a dirty word. That's not that's not what you're doing. So yeah, that's all I have to say about it this time around. Anything else, gents? I'm looking at our notes. I think we've just about covered it. So yeah, I think we're gonna be back here in a little more than 30 days because again, we have the GUAC. Unless we want to do it before the GUAC, I'll talk to my cohorts about that. But I want to say big thank you to Yang Yan Zhao and Dungeon Minister here. It's always a lot of fun chatting with you guys. Next show, guys. Next show, I will spam it all over the place like I did this one. But next show, we will be over on Yang Yan Zhao's channel. And then the one after that will be on the Dungeon Minister's channel. And that, wait, are we on your channel next or are we on Yang's next?
We're on Yang. I'm pointing down at Yang.
I think so.
You're pointing. I thought you were pointing at your. Okay. All right.
So no. My name's in the way.
Yeah. All right.
I gotta come over here and point at an angle.
Okay.
That way.
So yes, we're point at a Yangle.
Oh. Nice.
So yes, we are over here at Mr. Clean's channel, and sorry. We'll be on Yang Yan Zhao's channel next. And a big thanks to Jeremy for the super. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys. Elvin Maid needs notifications on DMs. You don't want to miss it. I will make sure you find out, Emmy.
You gotta click that little bell on YouTube. That's the real thing.
That's the real thing. And subscribe to Yang, subscribe to Dungeon Minister, and they'll make sure you get it too, Emmy. Absolutely. So everyone have an absolutely wonderful afternoon. There's not end credits. You're not going to hear Owlbear. We're just going to end the stream. Peace to you all. Be good to each other. And we'll see you next time. Good afternoon.
Bye.